With the duo era being so short-lived in the NBA, the intensity and drama over who's going to win the championship was also subsequently short-lived, as the speculation behind each duo's chemistry and backup cast eventually dwindled into which team can get the most superstars. And with the regular season simply being an appetizer to the playoffs, and the playoffs simply there to bring us to the finals, if the main goal of winning a championship has become boring after 75 years, how have we come to this point? The main culprit isn't the NBA, the men behind the scenes, or the marketing teams, it's the players and the team they construct. The leverage they've acquired over the management and subsequent staff have led them to creating teams that create zero fan interest. When the duo era was meant to be the time when they reinvigorated the league's engagement, it developed into a boring, messy situation. So I'm going to show you why most contenders have created a team with no chance of winning. The team that wasn't constructed by the players. The Warriors are coming off a championship, and it was very well earned. So going into the next season, they have a pretty convincing argument for repeating. They essentially have the same roster from last year, and they beat most teams pretty easily. But that doesn't mean they don't have the issues. First, the players on the team do have their inconsistencies. Steph can have games where he goes 1 for 7 from 3, and on occasion this can last multiple games. Clay is still recovering from injury and isn't the same Clay that we knew he was. Jordan Poole is young, and we don't know if this was a breakout season or just a fluke. Draymond quite literally isn't effective when he isn't functioning within the team, and the positioning at the 5 is questionable. It's either Kevin Looney or James Wiseman, and though it seems like they want to lean towards James, he is also young, and his position on the team is questionable as he's been thrown in trade rumors before. The problem with these reasons is that they're all arbitrary in terms of how they actually affect the team. Steph has been inconsistent at times and has been in slumps, as well as some of his stats dropping since Clay got injured, specifically 3-point percentage and true shooting percentage. For one, name a player that has not been in a slump ever in his career. And two, his production on the court is incomparable to his slumps. There's a reason he's been the best point guard in the league for years now, and his different production easily still makes him the best point guard in the league, and still a top 10 player. Easily. He is literally averaging 26, 6 and 5 on 60% true shooting, and since Clay got injured, he's been averaging almost 30 points, 6 assists and 5 rebounds. And this season, he was one of 3 people to average 25, 5 and 5 in the finals. The other 2 being the GOATs, Michael Jordan and LeBron James. Clay is recovering, yes, but that doesn't mean that he's not one of the best shooters in the league. The league average 3-point percentage is 34%. Clay is shooting 39% of 2 back-to-back injuries. He also shoots on the higher end of attempts with 9. And is still locking people down like nothing's changed. His defensive rating literally increased by 2 points. We do have to see if Poole is simply having an up year, but he's continuously trended up from his rookie year till now, and we have to give James more than 1 year to acclimate to the NBA. Also, the Warriors have an impeccable ability to draft these. They found these niggas at 2 and 28 in the first round. Wow. But back to the point, James Wiseman has showed potential. As a big in his rookie season, he came out averaging 12, 6 and 1 on 55% shooting. And Jordan Poole has always been trending upwards. He went from 9, 2 and 2 to 19, 4 and 3. This shows that they're turning into pieces that actually have value, especially for the Warriors, but not just for them. Similar to their vet, Draymond Green. Draymond fits perfectly into the Warriors system, and if the cogs aren't turning, he truly isn't effective by himself. But he's also the player that keeps the machine going. Him taking the primary role of being a playmaker allows Clay and Steph to function effectively as shooters. As well as Steph not being the best defensively, he anchors the team on that end, effectively guarding almost all positions and players. I say all this to say, the Warriors are fine and they're in a perfect position to repeat. It seems like Clay, Draymond and Curry are all going to get their 5th ring. The Bucks are complex. They have arguably the best chance to make it out of the East. Yes, believe it or not, the East is actually stacked. After years and years of people saying the East is weak and it's easy and it's not competitive, it's actually finally competitive. Joel Embiid finally has a great playmaker, floor spacer and overall shot creator in James Harden. Brooklyn have 2 of the best shot makers in NBA history in KD and Kyrie. The Heat are one of the most mentally tough teams in the NBA, and they have Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry and had young players to back it up. JT, JB and the Celtics literally just came from the NBA Finals, but I digress. I say all this to say, for the Bucks, the main problem they have is that it's serious competition, and with Giannis as the driving force, it may be a lot to deal with. Not because Giannis can't handle the pressure, but his robbing is still come back from injury, and Giannis' lack of scoring versatility may be a hindrance when it comes down to the team. He's a great playmaker, so deferring to his teammates won't hinder the production of the team per se, but they can't score the efficiency that Giannis can. Also, the quality of his supporting cast is very important. In comparison to other teams, excluding Chris Middleton, the team is questionable. They both average around 20 points and around 6-7 assists-ish, and they both do step up in the playoffs, improving their overall production, but losing a 20-point scorer in Middleton will hurt the team, especially with his role as a floor spacer and shot creator. Though he is leaning towards coming back in the season, an injury on his wrist could seriously affect his scoring ability. Yes, Giannis can step up, but it truly needs to be a team effort to achieve any major success. And when you're losing your second best player, can Drew fill Chris's role while staying effective on defense? I'm not sure, but I do believe either way, these are one of the harder teams to take down, and they do have the best chance of making it out of the East, even if Middleton isn't his old self. The Clippers are arguably the biggest failure in terms of the quote-unquote duo era. They've had 3 years together and had no success. We all know how the first season went. Kawhi and PG both choked against a team they should have been able to deal with relatively easily. I mean, look at their counterparts, the Lakers. People had the Clippers over the Lakers, yet against the same team, one team lost 4 games in a row and the other team dealt with them in 5. Just saying. In their second season, Paul George got injured and Kawhi had one of the best off seasons ever. He averaged 30 points, 5 assists and 8 rebounds, shooting 60% from the field, 40% from free and a 70% true shooting. But unfortunately got bounced out of conference finals by the Phoenix Suns. In the current season, Paul George only played 30 games and Kawhi couldn't play due to an ACL tear. Without the stars on the team, they just missed out on the playoffs with a record of 42-40, putting them 9th in the West and 20th in the league. In the offseason, they added John Wall, which addresses a major issue the team had in terms of needing a facilitator, playmaker, and someone to bring up the ball and run offense. And now you have 20 points, 9 assists John Wall, but they still have problems they need to address. The main thing is, Paul George has shown a history/trend of him dropping his performance in the playoffs. In Indiana, from around 2013 on, he was great. But once he joined OKC, he started trending downhill. In his first season, he dropped slightly and his percentage weren't as usual, but his performance was fine. The next season, he improved his production, but his percentages were abysmal, shooting 44% from the field and 32% from free, in comparison to his regular 44% from the field and 40% from free. On the Clippers, we don't have to see the stats. We know he played horrible. Kawhi had a similar problem, where against the Nuggets, he didn't step up in the way he needed to. And now he's come back from injury, we don't know if he's going to play the same way. John Wall's in the exact same situation, not to mention the team not having a solid big, they have serious concerns. The main thing is, they have chemistry and consistency issues. They've only played 1 season together and that ended horribly. Everyone continuously getting injured and adding new pieces to fill out the team, and now they've added someone who hasn't played in the last year, let alone barely played the year before that. It's looking long. Don't get twisted, they're still a good team. KD suffered a similar injury to Kawhi and he came back to have his best playoff performance probably ever, so there's still hope for Kawhi. PG will always be a concern, but Kawhi can carry and some issues have been dealt with. But the chances they're going to win it all are hindered if the 2 stars, the 2 major factors, aren't at their best. Especially with teams like the Nuggets, who wiped them out the first time, are coming back healthy. I believe they'll at least make the conference finals and I think they have a slight chance to make it out of the West. The Boston Celtics are arguably the worst team on this list. However, the duo of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, alongside the supporting cast, have proven their ability to compete and step up when necessary. But the issue with this team is, they're not competing against healthy teams in the East as they are. Jason Tatum is the best player on this team, but him operating as the primary ball handler and playmaker is horrendous for the team. You have Peyton Pritchard, but what does that really mean? Bars. Bars. Jason Tatum became the first player in NBA history with 100 turnovers in the postseason. He averaged 4 turnovers and didn't have a single game when he didn't have a turnover. The Celtics cannot have him as the primary ball handler. They have Marcus Smart running guard, and though he averages 6 assists, his role on the team doesn't allow him to flourish as a playmaker. Also, playmaking doesn't denote passing. In this offseason, they've acquired Michael Brogdon, who is also returning from injury, and as common as a theme as ever, how will he be when he returns from injury? He does everything to a good level in their league, being a 19-5-5 guy, and is arguably a top 30 player. He might even address some of the playmaking issues they have on the team, but his defensive impact is a needed presence, and it's questionable whether he'll be able to provide that in his current state, or the state he'll return in, should I say. Though they went all the way last year, if other teams come back healthy and the competition being heavy, I don't see them going past the second round. The Lakers are easily the worst contenders so far. This offseason, a team that couldn't even make the playoffs last season haven't addressed any of the issues that made them miss the playoffs in the first place. Russ is one of the main hindrances on the team, and it looks like they want to trade him, but we haven't even seen them entertain trades for him. Russ on average negatively affected his team, but God forbid we do an eye test. It's going to be even worse for him. They've added Patrick Beverley, who their main point guard actively dislikes and has beef with, and even if you disregard that, he doesn't solve any of the problems the Lakers have at that position. He's an average player with average playmaking, average rebounding, average scoring, and slightly above average defense. All he does is literally mouth off and basically do nothing for the team. He can be a piece they use for trade value, but if they don't, he's literally going to hurt the chemistry on the team whilst providing nothing. The second star on the team is one of the best players in the league when healthy, but that's the thing. He's never healthy. In the last 2 seasons, he's barely been able to scratch 40 games, and even before that, he hovered around 60 to 65 games. This subsequently hurts the team, because as you saw last year, when 3 of the best players can't play together, and then they're suddenly forced to meld together in the middle of the season, they won't win games. LeBron is getting older, and as he gets older, he's getting more and more injuries. Excluding the bubble season, from when he joined the Lakers, he's only been able to play above 60 games once. But when the 3 stars only play 21 out of 82 games as a complete unit, how are they meant to win a title, let alone make the playoffs? The one move that actually made this offseason was deciding to start Austin Reeves. Now, I don't know if he's taken some massive step in offseason that the Lakers have seen, and his archetype could be good for the team. But we've seen this before in Kyle Kuzma, we've seen this before in THT, we've seen this before in Alex Caruso, we've seen this before in Lonzo Ball. They believe in a young player and try to develop him on a win-now team. But when he doesn't perform after 1 season, they bench him or immediately start looking for trades. They're just repeating the cycle of Austin Reeves, and it doesn't look any more promising. They're trying to do what the Heat do to Tyler Hero, but 1, they have poor patience, and 2, the team's so poorly constructed with young and old players that on a win-now team, no players can effectively develop, and nothing ends up getting done. The team is wishy-washy between whether they want to start young players and give them experience, or start older players with more experience and more proven ability. Then throughout the season they fluctuate on who's going to start, and no one gets any real time to play, and no one finds a role on the team. And then, the team performs horribly. These teams are teams I believe can make it deepest into the playoffs, and they all have either championship or contending potential. But there's only 2 teams that can make it to the finals, and 1 team winning the championship. Coming out the West, after the LA Clippers vs Golden State Warriors conference finals, the Golden State Warriors will advance to the finals, and Steph will get the Western Conference MVP. Out of the East, after Milwaukee Bucks vs 76ers finals, the Milwaukee Bucks will face the Warriors in the finals, and Giannis will get his first Eastern Conference Finals MVP. And in the finals, the Bucks will lose to the Warriors in 7 games. Also, I just want to say, this video is essentially just a hate piece. I was just throwing some negativity into the NBA, but if you really want to see some negativity in the NBA, watch this video on how trash talking makes NBA players better, and it even has a player that was mentioned in this video in that video. If you like the video, like the video. If you don't. Subscribe if you want, and I'm done. Okay, bye.